MLB is a league that has a lot of international talent, and this international talent coming out of Japan has proved to be really the best story in baseball this year. Now, I'm not a big baseball fan. I'm a highlights guy. I check out highlights, but I'm not a guy who's going to sit here and spit out a bunch of stats at you because I ain't got them. I don't know them. But, when you're talking about the effect that international players can have in any sports league, a lot of times those international players actually propel the sports league into a bigger, broader audience. And the MLB is huge in Japan. Baseball is huge in Japan. Now, with Stephen A. Smith, situation that we're dealing with him, this is, for me, it's almost a broken record when it comes to this cat, because he continuously has these takes that, honestly are shit takes a lot of the times. A lot of times he's trying to do it for shock value. A lot of times he's trying to do it, to mesmerize the audience with his loud, rambunctious takes. But, again, this is just another situation of a purely idiotic and racist comment and set of comments that came out of Stephen A. Smith. Let's take a look at his actual comments.
Is this good for Major League Baseball that Ohtani's the top attraction?
Let's hear what he has to say about Ohtani.
Not to me. And I say not to me because I completely understand where other people are coming from, and I'll leave that side of the point to Max. And Max, you had the pleasure of meeting my high school buddy Jeff Brown this weekend in Las Vegas.
The whole family.
He's one of the biggest baseball fans I know, and he's very, very big on Ohtani. And I'll leave that to your side of the argument. And I just want to let you know I get where y'all are coming from. I'm just going to tell you where I'm coming from with this. Even though baseball is an international sport, and I totally get that, it's
right there, right in that moment, even though it just clues me in that he's about to say some shit that's just straight up stupid.
It's played in the United States and Canada. That's where Major League Baseball is being played. So when I'm looking at it from this perspective. In the United States of America, when you talk about the sport of Major League Baseball, you talk about its lack of diversity in terms of African-American players. You talk about the influx of foreign.
Again, this is coming from somebody who is not really understanding the broader picture here. You're talking about diversity, which he directly attributes to African-Americans, that's not the whole truth. Diversity is not just for black folks. Diversity is for everyone.
Foreign players, whether they be from Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Japan, or anywhere else. If you are a star and you need an interpreter, that might have something to do, not everything, because there's a lot of things that go into it, but that might have something to do with your inability to ingratiate yourself with that young demographic to attract them to the sport. I would remind you, Max, I would remind my brother Jeff, I would remind others that baseball is in trouble. The audience for Major League Baseball, the demographic repeatedly gets older. It's not getting younger. That younger demographic, which is the targets for all of the advertisers and sponsors and everybody else out there, that's the NBA and the NFL. Major League Baseball is struggling miserably. That's why you got a lot of people that have turned against the commissioner, Rob Manfred, because of all the changes that he's tried to incorporate and implement in an effort to save the sport by elevating its level of interest, okay? And it's even alienated some of the players who are traditionalists and want things to remain the same as they always were. We all know that baseball, the sport of baseball, led by its players, are always the last to the party. Always the last to the party. They're so reluctant to change. They're always the last to the party. When I look at Ohtani, he is big time.
What does any of what he just said have to do with Ohtani being baseball's #1 attraction right now? They're going into the All-Star game. They're having the home run derby, which he's going to be a part of. This is a guy who has the most home runs in the MLB, and he's a pitcher. He's a pitcher. So that in and of itself being a unique measure that we haven't seen since, what, Babe Ruth over 100 years ago? With that being something that is now, provided an element of excitement for people who watch baseball on a regular basis and the baseball media to talk about. What does anything that he just said have to do with whether or not this guy is the number one attraction? It's clear he's the number one attraction. It is clear as day. And people don't care that he doesn't speak English, that he uses an interpreter.
Time, Babe Ruth, 33 home runs, batting .279, got a 4-on-1 record with a .379 ERA as a pitcher. This brother is special. Make no mistake about it. But the fact that you got a foreign player that doesn't speak English, that needs an interpreter, believe it or not, I think contributes to harming the game to some degree when that's your box office appeal. It needs to be somebody like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, those guys. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, that's not the case.
Stephen A. Smith is a clown. We all know that. We watched him go on about Kwame Brown. He thought he was doing some type of undressing of Kwame by showing lowlights, which every player in the world of sports can have a lowlight film made of them in a heartbeat. We've seen him do these things. Stephen A. Smith is getting paid $12 million a year, as we just found out by ESPN. And clearly, making $12 million a year makes him feel as if he can come out and literally just make statements that are definitely racist, because what he's saying is definitely rooted in a racist perspective. You're saying that because he doesn't speak English, he shouldn't be the face of the MLB. But Ichiro, for years, was one of the major faces in the MLB. Ichiro is an icon in the U.S. and in Japan. In Japan, they roll out the red carpet for Ichiro. Ichiro doesn't speak English when he's in the U.S. He still uses a translator. He does that for a reason, even though he can speak English. And the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of people who are Japanese, who are native Japanese individuals, they speak English. They just choose not to, because it's their first language is not easily translatable into English in a proper way. It's hard. I think Japanese is like the fourth hardest language to actually learn and translate into English. And that's coming from, I believe, the FBI. The FBI says that it's the fourth hardest language to learn and translate because there are many dialects. This guy, Stephen A. Smith, once again, is showing his ass. And not only did he make the statements and think that he was actually saying something that was of value, he also doubled down once his ass properly began to get roasted by the collective world, the collective online world, once this thing hit the headline. And in response to his earlier comments, and everybody knows, when you see this shit right here, on my earlier comments, one would expect that, realizing that what he said was fucking stupid, one would expect that he would come back and actually try to apologize.
Segment on Ohtani this morning on First Take. People are misinterpreting what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the state of the game. Baseball itself. Baseball's a great game, a great sport. And some of the greatest players in the world are foreign players. Tatis comes to my mind. I love this brother and what he brings to the table. And Ohtani is the second coming of Babe Ruth, okay? That's not what I was trying to say. I'm talking about the marketability and the promotion of the sport is exactly what Sports Illustrated essentially alluded to in their article last month when they talked about 28% of the players in Major League Baseball are foreign players. A lot of them need translators. Spanish, it could be Mandarin, Japanese, the list goes on and on and on. If you are a sport trying to ingratiate yourself with the American public the way Major League Baseball is, because of the problems that you've been having to deal with in terms of improving the attractiveness of the sport, it helps that if you spoke the English language. It doesn't mean anything more than that. Baseball is a great game, but baseball's audience is significantly older than the NBA, the NFL audience, etc., etc. That's what I was talking about. Nothing more. We're only talking about Ohtani because he's phenomenal and he's going to be in the home run derby and he's got 33 home runs with a 279 batting average, plus he can pitch and he's the second coming of Babe Ruth, practically. We know it's an international sport. We know that that's great, and baseball having a global appeal that it is, fine. But in the United States, all I was saying is that when you're a superstar, if you can speak the English language, then guess what? That's going to make it that much easier and less challenging to promote the sport. That's all I was saying about anybody.
We could just pull that up. So Stephen A., we don't know what he did last night, but
Stephen A., you were gazing?
he was all sorts fired up this morning.
No, I was doing something.
Stephen A. Smith. That is about as ridiculous of a double down as I've seen come from him in a long time. The fact that you have international players who use interpreters to speak to the fans and to the audience doesn't have anything to do with the ability to actually grow the popularity of the game. What they do on the field, what they do as players performing their job, that is what brings more people to watch them on TV. That is what actually grows the sport. What's happening on the field, because you're literally separating foreign players from American players. But you have the nerve to talk about diversity. You have the nerve to talk about inclusion. None of that makes sense when you open your mouth and you say dumb shit like this. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. And me, myself, I had my own thing to say to him about this. I had my own response to it. Bruh, you ain't walking this bullshit back now. Mama's cooking. Shout out Kwame Brown. You already showed your ass. You sus, bro. Ichiro is an icon in the MLB. As someone with kids who are half Japanese, you need to shut your ass up and stop talking on culture and race. Nobody gives a shit about interpreters. Baseball is going to be fine in the U.S. I mean, every sport goes through its ups and downs and has eras where they don't necessarily have the kind of viewership that they would like. For instance, the NBA. The NBA right now, damn near historic lows in TV ratings across the board. Regular season, playoffs, finals. You know what's holding up NBA right now? What's holding up the NBA? What's giving them the ratings that they actually got based on all the shit that they've been, that basketball has kind of morphed into over the last 2 years? Luka Doncic, Slovenian. Giannis Antetokounmpo, my bad, a Nigerian who's Greek, who's born in Greece or moved to Greece when he was young. Foreign players are actually holding the NBA on its shoulders right now. The reason why the NBA got to its height of popularity at one point was because of guys like Yao Ming, who didn't really speak no English. Not English that you could really understand. But his jersey sales were among the top in the NBA year in and year out. That is the literal reason why the NBA is able to even really have any kind of business in places like China. Really, China is a big reason why the NBA blew up even into a fully blown international sport with the NBA inserted in the middle of it. This all comes from foreign players bringing their talents into an American sports league. Jokic, MVP player, European, like not a great English speaker, but he damn sure plays that damn basketball really good, doesn't he? So the sport is, more people watch it because of that. More people who watch his team, who are fans of the Jazz, more people watch because of him. More people are watching the Angels because of Ohtani. That is a fact. More people are watching baseball because of Ohtani. That is a fact. More people will be watching the All-Star game because of you, Stephen A. Smith. That is a fact, because you had to come out and say some dumb shit and embarrass yourself, and then you double down and try and say, no, this is what I meant. This is what I meant. Bro, that isn't even relevant to what your actual point was. Your actual point was Ohtani should not be the face of Major League Baseball because he can't speak English. Well, what are they watching the game for? Are they watching baseball to hear them speak or to see them swing bats and throw pitches? That's what it boils down to.